Alright, so this is a video. So I used to do videos just kind of covering random news based on things that people wanted me to hear, or I thought people wanted me to talk about in videos. But I'm just not going to do that anymore. Unless there's something big I feel like I could talk about in its own video, something I really care about, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look up stories, or not look up stories. I hear about movie news. I'm in that circle of people who just like, I research that stuff. I want to know about it, want to hear about it. And I'm just going to do a video talking about the stuff that came out this week. Trailers, info, release dates, and stuff like that. And I'm just going to talk about it in one video each week. Every Sunday, I'll record a video. And depending on how many stories there are, that's how long the video will be. I'll talk about things that I'm excited about coming out this week, movie related, because we're at a point now where we have things coming out every week, which, not just like, oh, that movie's coming out this Friday, like it would be in the theater. It's literally every week we have multiple seasons of shows, movies coming out on Netflix, Disney Plus, whatever. So, in terms of this week, we got episode 3 of WandaVision, which I'm very excited about. Very, very excited about to see that. So that comes out next week. And yeah, or not next week, this week. We have 9 episodes, which is one more than Mandalorian has had for both seasons, which I gratefully appreciate. Because it kind of felt like this show, you kind of need one more episode to really get into things. It's interesting, though. I wonder if this show is going to be one of those shows with another season because of how strange the concept is. I really like the show so far, at least the first 2 episodes I saw, and I'm going to be reviewing them week to week, but it's just kind of strange. Then on HBO Max, this drops on Thursday, we have more Looney Tunes shorts, and if you haven't kept up with my channel lately, I've been covering all the ones that have come out before these new ones drop, and I'll be covering all these too, because I really enjoyed covering those Mickey Mouse shorts as they drop week to week, and so I'm excited to cover Looney Tunes too. I just wish these also drop week to week, but they unfortunately do not. And then we also have Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous Season 2. So I'm guessing this season takes place either before or during Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which I really hate that movie, so we'll see how this season turns out. I thought the first season was kind of lame. It had a lot of issues. Like, I didn't understand what exactly they were, like, it wasn't terrible, but it's kind of like, okay, there are so many better ways to have written these characters and make the story work. It's also just weird plot. I guess it's a spoiler, but there was like a plot point with the character being a spy, and it's like, this is a kid. And I don't know. It's just dumb. And but it's like, it's still entertaining enough that I'll watch the second season and do a video on. So stay tuned for that. That comes out Friday on Netflix. The big thing that came out through Netflix this week was HBO Max did this too, and I'll talk about that next. Was that they announced that they're going to have a movie every single week on Netflix. They got a lot of big name titles. I'm not going to go over them because there's just too many to go over. But if you want to go look up a list of stuff, there you go. But it is huge. I'm going to talk about some of the ones I was really excited for, which is mostly animated stuff. First of all, I really appreciate the deal that Netflix has done with Aardman. Aardman is a British studio that puts out a lot of stop-motion films, which if you don't know, it's like, so they'd make something with clay, and you take like a camera and you shoot it, and then move it bit by bit. So like, they make like Wallace and Gromit, Shaun the Sheep, stuff like that. You can look up that stuff and check that stuff out. It's a really fascinating process. Beautiful animation too. And I used to go see these films in the theater, and they always bombed in the theater. It always made me feel bad because I was like, you guys are making great content, but they're just not content that appeals to everyone. And what I mean by that is like, no one's going to watch a trailer for their film and go, man, I really got to go see that in the theater. I think most people who want to see their films wait to see them at home or something like that. And so, yeah, I don't think their films grab a huge audience in the theater, which is unfortunate, but them being on Netflix is a greater thing. My only issue with the Netflix deal that they signed with them was that they were releasing things like Shaun the Sheep 2 without Shaun the Sheep and some of their other projects on Netflix. So or like the first one on Netflix. So I'm looking at that going, but like, how is this film that's a sequel to another movie supposed to find an audience exactly? Because it's not on it's not on Netflix, the first one. This is the sequel. The series isn't series of shorts that isn't on Netflix. But I think they're doing some more to rectify that. We're getting a Shaun the Sheep holiday special, which obviously means it probably will be coming out November, December. We're also getting another short that we don't know too much about. I'm forgetting the name of it, but yeah, that's coming out. We're also getting a Troll Hunters movie, which is strange to me because I thought Troll Hunters was a dead thing, because Troll Hunters, I liked the show. I liked the first 3 seasons. Then I tried to watch 3 Below, and it was just not very engaging at all. Like, I didn't want to watch it, so I stopped watching it. And I've tried to go back and watch it, and I still might, but it just didn't grab me. And I probably have to go back and watch all these shows, because frankly, I gotta do a video at some point on the show, on the series. And then there was Wizards, which I didn't even bother watching because I was like, okay, well, I didn't watch 3 Below, so why would I get into another show? And it seemed like when Troll Hunters came out, that was the show everybody was talking about. It was a big deal. And then, I mean, I went to like a mall, and there was just Troll Hunters like on the ground and like the walls, and there was billboards and everything. And it was like a big deal. Like, Troll Hunters was everywhere. There was a ton of merchandise, action figures. I was seeing them in toy stores, and now that stuff just kind of is not there. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like Troll Hunters is something that they wanted to be a bigger deal than it was, and it just didn't work out, which is kind of unfortunate because I really like Troll Hunters. At least the first 3 seasons. But yeah. And it's weird because Guillermo del Toro actually did envision this series as a movie, but he realized there was just too much to put into a film. But then he made it 3 different shows, and then now he's making it a movie, and this might be the conclusion. I'm not sure. I'm confused about what Troll Hunters is anymore. But yeah, if you let me know if you've seen 3 Below and Wizards, and let me and what you think of it, and if you think I should go back and finish those shows. But whatever. Then there was also the big news of the Loud House movie finally having an update, which I was confused about because I don't know where I heard this, but I heard the movie was canceled, which I thought made sense because I didn't feel like the show had that big of an audience. It had a big audience. It was like rivaling like SpongeBob in the ratings, but now currently I don't think it has an audience, which is very strange to me because The Loud House is like a fine show. I find it weird that this is coming to Netflix. Okay, I really don't like this business practice Netflix has, where they're buying rights to sequels and rights to like sequel shows and things like that, but they're not putting the original show on their platform. If people cannot watch the Loud House on your platform, then how can you push a Loud House movie? That just doesn't make sense. The Invader Zim and Rocko's Modern Life TV movies, which are also Nickelodeon, they did okay, but I can watch Invader Zim on Hulu and then Rocco on Verb. I have to go through 3 different services when Viacom just should have signed a flippin' deal with Netflix and given them the rights to these shows for a limited time and put the thing there. It's ridiculous. Like, I get it. You want to put them on streaming, and I like that approach. And now it seems like they're putting more content on Paramount Plus, and we'll talk about that in a minute after I'm done talking about the next thing I'm going to talk about. But it was just like, really? I just don't get it. I just don't. But then we're getting the Rise of the TMNT, same thing. I'm just like, I'm excited for this movie more than Loud House movie. That's just because I'm a fan of Ninja Turtles more than a fan of Loud House. I know there's been that thing where people are mad that New Ninja Turtles is too different or whatever the hell, but it's actually a great show. It's beautifully animated, and sure, there are some things that were iffy to me at first, but you kind of see what they do with it, and they do a lot more with it, and it becomes a really good show. I think I'm excited for this movie more so because when you're watching the new Ninja Turtles show, they have like new original villains, and the 2012 series did this too, but they also incorporate more of the classic villains. But my thing about it is like, okay, so you're putting in these classic villains in this show, and then, or no, they're making all these new villains, and it's kind of confusing because it's just like, well, if the classic one's already classic, why don't you just kind of use them and make new versions of them? Some of them even felt like, hey, we're making new versions of classic characters, or some of them just felt like they're too weird, and it's like, I appreciate that you guys took the risk of making new characters that could become popular later. You know, because I mean, like Harley Quinn started out as a new character in Batman animated series, right? And that's like a super popular character. So I appreciate the risk, but it just didn't. I don't know. I don't feel like any of them really hit or did anything. I'm just confused about this show getting one too, because I don't hear anybody talking about the show anymore. I don't hear any buzz about it. I feel like I'm the only person that watches it. So, cool. I'm excited for it. These don't have release hits, by the way. These are just kind of, they're coming this year. They have a lot of animated projects announced. Yeah, I'm just, my thing about the live action stuff is with Netflix, I'm interested in some of it, but it's just like, most of it, like, oh, it's because of the cast or whatever, and I don't really have any info to say, oh, this is what I'm excited for this. So I don't have anything to say about it. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus is CBS All Access. I've been pretty pissed at Paramount Plus because we had that SpongeBob movie, got delayed, and it was supposed to release 2021. And I really wanted to see this movie. I didn't think it was going to be great, and I've heard not great things, but I still wanted to see it. And everywhere in the world, it is on Netflix, except the United States. And it's on Netflix right now, but we have to wait till early 2021 to get the SpongeBob movie. And I have to sign up for CBS All Access, which bullcrap I'm not going to do. Let me tell you how often I use CBS All Access, which is now being renamed Paramount Plus. Towards the end of the year, I have a friend, and he gets Paramount CBS All Access, and he loves Star Trek. We both love Star Trek. We're huge fans, and he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna start watching those shows that are coming back." He informs me about it, and I'm like, "Cool." And then so he said, and so I just borrow his password, and I re-download the app and watch Star Trek. That's how I watch Star Trek. That's all I use CBS All Access for, and I am, I don't understand this. We have to scatter our shows and movies throughout different services. Like Nickelodeon's got some stuff on Netflix, some stuff on Hulu, some stuff on Verb. Why can't you just have it available on one service? Like Disney Plus, there might be a couple movies on like Netflix or Hulu or whatever, but I know that when I sign up for Disney Plus, I'm getting the majority of their movies, and I'm not having to go through 15 different services to get that. And I don't think Paramount has enough original good content that it would justify signing up for a service. So what they should just do is just either combine with Netflix and make one service, or just give some of their rights to Nickelodeon properties. And why I'm talking about the SpongeBob movie so much is we got footage of Camp Coral. I'm not watching this show, by the way, and I know there's people saying, hey, this show isn't made for the people that are complaining about it. You're right, it isn't. But neither was SpongeBob, and tons of adults love SpongeBob because it's a good show, or at least was during its early days. And so saying that, hey, you shouldn't complain about it or whatever is a little ridiculous to me, because I'm like, SpongeBob wasn't made for me, and I laugh at SpongeBob. In fact, I've watched the older episodes like just a few months ago. I binged through them again, and they were funnier to me now that I am older and grown up than when I was 8 years old and saw SpongeBob for the first time. I don't even know, I might have been younger than that, but you get the point, right? So I hate that idea. I really hate it because it's bullcrap. And yeah, what I hate about this footage, there's three things to the story that really bother me. We obviously know that Steven Hillenburg, the creator of SpongeBob, passed away and did not want this to be a spinoff, or did not want a spinoff at all, and they waited till he died to put this out there. And some people were jumping to the defense of that and saying, well, this guy who worked on the show, I believe he was a writer, and saying he said that, oh, well, no, I was friends with him, he was okay with it. Well, turns out he came out and said, hey, I was lying about that, I just didn't want to see my crew get attacked. Which shows how much this is a greedy move, okay? There are people who are harassing employees at this company because of something greedy and messed up they're doing, and yet they're still going forward with it. Like, they could have seized production at any time. Sure, they've spent some money on it or whatever, but when this was first announced, I would have pulled the plug if this was happening to my employees, right? I don't know. I mean, I can't speak on the business side of it, but like, I'm just saying that's kind of really scummy and messed up that people are getting harassed to the point where they feel like they need to lie to get people off their back. But I'm sorry you're getting harassed. It's still not okay to lie to people, because if I were you and I didn't want my people to get harassed, I would call the company and say, hey, we're getting harassed for your greedy bullcrap, and like, I don't know, stand up for yourself. I get you might lose your job, but is it really worth being in that kind of environment where you're being harassed for some greedy company? Like, you're taking the fall for their evil, scummy behavior? I don't know. And, yeah. And the other thing that really bothers me about this story is we found out that the footage and images that they put out there were unfinished. So people were complaining, it looks bad. Well, yeah, because they didn't put it out finished. It's unfinished animation. And it looks terrible. and it looks like a generic preschooler show like the new Muppet Babies or whatever. But the thing about the new Muppet Babies is like, at least that show, I guess, tries to be like educational or whatever, and it. And again, this wasn't, oh, Jim Henson. It's it isn't like, oh, Jim Henson died and he didn't want another Muppet Babies, but we waited till he died to make it, and they didn't put out trailers and footage for the show without the people involved's consent, who made it, or without confirmation that it was finished and was appropriate to put it out. I'm just saying, like, that's pretty scummy. So yeah. Now, HBO Max. Oh boy, HBO Max. We'll talk about this, and then we're going to talk about more movie delays and what I think is going to happen throughout 2021. I'm really confused about the whole HBO Max deal, because what really pisses me off about this is they won't be clear about what movies are coming on what dates. They're moving movies all the time, which you'd think, because it's head to HBO Max, they wouldn't have to do. Here's what I believe they should have done. I think they need to put out the smaller movies first. So we're not going to put out Godzilla vs. Kong now, because there's a chance things could get better, and if things get better, you should not put these movies on HBO Max. I know people want that, and I think that's a cool move, but if things get better by July, by August, by whatever date later in the year, then yeah, this is the better option to put them in a theater, just a theater, not on streaming. But it seems that we're not doing that. They're trying to scatter release dates, and we've had that whole thing where Legendary came out and tried to sue Netflix Warner Brothers for trying to put out Dune and Godzilla vs. Kong on HBO Max, and then it came out, hey, I guess they're not coming, they're probably just going to theaters now, and then it came out the opposite now. I'm so confused. Maybe that was just a rumor I heard and wasn't true, but it's just, I don't know what's true, and it's very irritating, because it's just like, I just want to know, is this movie coming to your service? And a lot of it, the reason that they can't just tell us that is because they went behind these people who made the shows back and said, yeah, screw you, we're not going to tell you, we're going to make this big announcement and push. So we have cast and crew and other people coming out and saying, what the hell, Warner Brothers? You owed me X amount of money. You owed this company X amount of money, and then now you can't give it to us because you're doing this. And like, I want Disney to do this move with their movies and not be charging $30. Yeah, I want that too. But the problem, all right, the way Warner Brothers is going about it and not telling people involved with it is really, really bad on their part. And I think it's disgusting behavior from a company. I think this is a cool move, and I think it's great to push a streaming service, but really, there have to be better ways to do this. And I think I really am excited to watch things like The Little Things, right? That has Jared Leto, Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, stuff like that. These are movies that on HBO Max are smaller movies. So if you were to put them in a theater, maybe because the casting might have done okay, but they'd probably do better on streaming. Most people will watch them on streaming. And so I don't understand, like, why they don't just move Godzilla vs. Kong, Matrix, all that stuff to later in the year. I don't think Mortal Kombat's going to be as big as they think it is. I like the old Mortal Kombat movie. I'm glad to see this one has a full R rating because it's Mortal Kombat. It feels really weird. Here's my thing about these types of like video game movies that people are like, hey, we can't make it rated R like the game is, even though, because the game's like, what, M for mature, and lots of kids watch people play M for mature video games now. It's kind of a thing. And so when you're looking at it going, hey, we can't make the video game movie rated R because the audience who plays the game can't watch it somehow. Like, I think it's ridiculous. I don't know. I feel like Mortal Kombat, thank you for making it rated R, because that was a complaint in the 90s even, but it's like you could have done it back then so it wasn't as big as a complaint. I think if they came out and said, now we're doing it PG-13, people would be livid, and then they'd just be like, well, we got to go back in and do reshoots and add in blood and gore, which there should be blood and gore. It's Mortal Kombat. Like, come on. And if you can make an animated movie and release it straight to video where people are getting their spines slashed out, I'm just saying, like, why can't you do it in a bigger movie, But I think they need to, I think they just need to come out and say, all right, Little Things, movies like that, Tom and Jerry, we are going to put these out on the service first. And if things get better towards the end of 2021, we will put Godzilla versus Kong. We will put that. We will put all of our other movies, all of our other bigger movies. We're gonna put those in a theater. Matrix 4, all that. Right? That would be awesome if they just did that. I would prefer that. So, and then they just give us release dates for all these smaller movies that they want to put out now, and so we have, this one's coming out in March, this one's coming out in April, this one's coming out in January, this one's coming out in February, this one's coming out blah blah, this one's coming out here, there, because most of these we don't have confirmation for, we don't have trailers for. They're doing a terrible job at marketing them. Like 2 weeks ago, the trailer for The Little Things came out. Nobody talked about it because it was just like, let's just throw this trailer out there. I'm like, you're putting it out in January. Obviously, I don't care what quality of the movie it is. You should have marketed this, put a trailer out at least back in November, marketed this through November to January. Some people are saying the reason why they're not giving confirmation on release dates is they're waiting for the Super Bowl to do stuff, which makes sense to me. And some people say, well, that's way too American, but we are talking about American release dates, so I hope that's what we're doing here. And Godzilla vs. Kong got moved up to March and is going to HBO Max now, which, again, I'm really confused about because there's been no trailers for that. My guess is at the end of this month we'll get a trailer for Godzilla vs. Kong, and we'll be able to see what that movie looks like. I'm excited for it, and yeah, really excited to see that. And then now let's talk about the movie delays. We hear word that Kevin Feige is in talks to possibly put Black Widow on Disney Plus at a premium price point if things don't get better. Here's my belief with this new wave of movies that is going to be delayed, and let's not kid ourselves. It's going to be delayed. If they can't put these movies out this year, then they're going to lose a lot of money because these studios borrow money from banks to fund and make these movies. If they can't give the money back, they're screwed. And so a lot of these movies are in emergency time to be put on services right away, no matter how much they lose. And the other side of it is this. We see trailers for movies. They market movies, right? So they're putting out 20 trailers for James Bond. I mean, how many times they delayed that movie and how many trailers have come out? They have shown all the possible footage for that movie that you could have possibly shown without resorting to giving us spoilers for the movie and things like that. So you cannot show us more footage of the movie to a certain point. And so that movie is in talks to be sold to streaming services, but they're asking $200 million, which is not going to happen. So my guess is they will have to be forced to go down if they can't make it to their next release date because they cannot delay it one more time after that. We were at the point where they dropped a music video for the new Bond song, and then the day that they dropped that, they delayed it again. Like, that's where we're at with this movie. We can't keep delaying it. Things like A Quiet Place 2. Hype has died down for A Quiet Place 2. We've seen all the trailers. It was literally like a week before it came. No, it was like just a few days before it came out. There were critics who actually got to see the movie because There were screenings still available then. And then the movie just didn't come out. There are some studios that are like Sony saying we will never put our movies on streaming. Bull crap. I think if theaters aren't better by the end of this year, then they will put Connected on Netflix and the animated stuff like that. They will be putting projects like that on services. And then I also see this happening where they are going to do a lot of that stuff going forward. We're also going to see companies like Disney be like, all right, fine, we have to put Black Widow. We have to do that. I think these companies are just going to move to streaming very quickly, and we're going to see that by May. If things aren't better by May, all these companies are going to go, fine, we give it. We can't keep doing this. Now, the confusing thing about Disney to me is they have 20th Century Fox, and they have some movies that I'm not really sure how you're going to deal with some of those, right? Because we have The Kingsman. The Kingsman you're not going to put on Disney Plus. Or is it Kingsman or The Kingsman or whatever? That is a rated R spy spoof movie. You're not going to put that on Disney Plus, right? So is that going to go to Hulu? I'm not sure. I think in other countries outside of the US, there's a part of Disney Plus that just launched called Star, and we're probably going to see that going there. And I think it'll probably go to Hulu. Who knows? I also foresee them moving the free guy to Disney Plus or Hulu. I know they keep trying to push it like it's going to be this big hit, but really, it's not. It's sure Ryan Reynolds is in it, but really, it's not. And probably do better on streaming. I mean, imagine if they put Six Underground in a theater. Would that have done well? Probably not. So, and that's where I think things are headed. I think a lot of stuff like that is going to happen. We're going to see movies being pushed to streaming. Warner Brothers is doing it. Sure, Sony's not. But I think Disney is trying to do it to an extent. I think the way they're going about it, the $30 price point, is bullcrap, because I'm already paying a fee for your service, and then you're in there going, hey, I'm going to charge you another $30 because you have to pay for the service to pay for the movie. Like, you see how ridiculous that is? It's like those websites you go on and it says, hey, for $7 you can do this, and then you click on it, pay the $7 through your credit card, and then it goes, oh, sorry, we also need an additional $30. Like, that's what it is. It's a scam, but it's done by a company like Disney, and yet they're still doing it. And I thought after the Mulan thing and Soul not having a premium price point, we were beyond that. And I think for some movies we will. I don't think Raya the Last Dragon, when it comes out in March, will be that successful on Disney Plus. I think